And I will read the public hearing notice. The North Brookfield Planning Board will hold a public hearing.
To pull your mask down because they can't see
Okay.
us from here.
The North Brookfield Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 17th, 2021 at 7:15 at the Police Station Meeting Room, 55 School Street, to consider the application of CMG Engineering / CCS Realty LLC for a convenience store gas station proposed for 192-206 North Main Street, per zoning bylaw section 4, capital C, lowercase b, and uppercase e, and section 6, uppercase G, number 2A. Any person interested in this proposal is invited to attend this hearing. Copies of plans and project application for the special permit and site plan review are on file at the town clerk's office, 215 North Main Street, North Brookfield, Mass. Submitted by William King Chair. And it was posted in the Spencer New Leader on January 22 and January 29. So with that reading, we can commence the hearing, and I will turn it over to professional engineer Jim Bernardino, representing CCS Realty and CMG.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask if you could potentially mute your, so we don't get feedback. We'll pick up my voice on my computer here. Because we'll have bad feedback.
I just muted that's what you get.
That's what you get? Okay. Let me see. Maybe unmute it. That might be better. We'll do that. Okay, so we can pick it up. If there's any, I'll try to speak as loud as I can. For the record, my name is Jim Bernardino. I'm with CMG Environmental. We're civil engineers working with the applicant, CCS Realty, for the redevelopment of the subject parcel. I'm going to share my screen, if I could. We have it disabled, if you could allow me to share a screen.
And you're trying now?
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Again, Jim Bernardino, CMG Environmental. We're looking at redevelopment of 192 and 206 North Main Street for the owner and applicant CCS Realty LLC. This is a quick aerial locus so everybody can get acclimated to where the project is. We're located just over here to the right at the police station. So we're almost across the street from the town hall. We're just a couple buildings down. So this is just an overall aerial. The site is approximately 0.59 acres, consisting of 2 lots at this point, which will be consolidated into one once the project does move forward, just to have a dot the I's, cross the T's, and have all the logistics put aside and addressed for a lot consolidation. This is just a quick street view of the existing property. Obviously, it's currently a vacant building, so it's not really being utilized to its potential. The proposal is to raise and rebuild the entire site. That doesn't give you much. This is just the existing conditions survey, showing the overall parcel again. Just under 0.6 acres. I think brown is the existing building, green is opened landscape area, the light shaded brown in the back, some dirt, gravel, and we do have a paved driveway access in the middle. Part of the application, we're going to be talking about some existing non-conformities of the project, which obviously we like to incorporate into the special permit for the intended use, which will be a gas station convenience store. But when you look at the existing property, in the existing buildings, there are many non-conforming aspects as it relates to setbacks, being the side setback of 3.4 feet, 2.7 along the northern property line. On the eastern property line, we're as close as 3.4 feet. Along the southern property line, adjacent to the little town park, is approximately 20.2 feet and about 29.4 feet off the front. So those are existing non-conformities that we're going to enhance with our proposal. We'll have greater setbacks, but we'll still be in a non-conforming situation with our proposal. Here is the overall proposal. with the site plan. I have some better colored ones with landscaping in a little while I'll bring up. But we're proposing approximately a 3,900 square foot convenience store with 18 parking spaces, 12 spaces being directly in front of the building with a handicap accessible stall, as well as 6 spaces at the dispensers. We have 3 multi-product dispensers, meaning we are going to provide regular, premium, unleaded, as well as diesel at the dispensers. Only diesel will be provided at the 2 end spots. The site's going to be accessed by 2 full movement curb cuts, 30 feet wide at each, to allow for entrance and exit of the subject property onto North Main Street. We do have a proposed dumpster enclosure. Preliminary review and discussions with some staff and planning department asked us to see if we could relocate that away from the park on the southern side. So we did that. We put it on the northern property line. We've actually modified this to be a CMU, a block structure that will match in color with the proposed building. I have an elevation of that I'll show momentarily as well. But we also are going to be proposing part of that to be a shed. You won't really notice it being a shed, but the small area on the side will be a shed to house some minor equipment like snow blowers, shovels, things of that nature, just for the routine property needs of the site. We are going to have new sidewalks across the front of the site, mainly in part to accommodate for the new driveway entrance, as well as filling in the existing curb cut that's on the site. We do have 2 proposed underground storage tanks that, when the time comes, will be in front of the Board of Selectmen for a fuel storage license. This is our anticipated location for the underground storage tanks. We will be having a freestanding sign as well at the front of the site. Again, I have a detail of that momentarily. I'll present that to the board as well. Obviously, typical offerings for this type of convenience use is obviously an air tower and a vacuum station. So we have that located on the southern side of the property. We also are proposing some outdoor storage for a propane cage, not a case. That's a typo, my apology. But we do have that typical, the Blue Reiner propane exchange type of program. Any type of fuel storage permits that will be necessary will be handled during the building permit process, fire department review, and the like. And also, what we're looking to add is a proposed generator for the site. Obviously, a major component of the building is some of its refrigeration components and things of that nature. So, if we ever do lose power up in this location, we'll be able to, service that. And this is also a benefit to the town where, emergency vehicles may have access to fuel and things of that nature should their systems ever, the municipal, fueling facilities ever fail during any type of storm event. Well, what we wanted to talk about briefly as well is some of the non-conformities as I touched base with at the beginning of the project. As I mentioned previously, we looked at some yard requirements. Along the northern property line, the required yard against a residential district is 40 feet. The existing is 27. So we're increasing and enhancing that non-conformity to a setback of 20 feet. Likewise, in the rear of the property, the rear setback is 40 feet. The existing is 2.3. We're enhancing that by extending that distance to 5.6 feet. Let me see. Another setback as well. I think those are the big ones. Oh, and the front yard setback. The front yard setback has a 50-foot required setback. Existing is 29.4 feet, and that's to an actual building. And then we have 32.4 feet being proposed to the edge of the canopy. Part of the other relief that we're seeking is from some of the parking requirements. Parking stall required under your regulations is 9 feet by 20. We're looking to implement a 9 by 18 foot wide, 9 foot wide by 18 foot long parking stall. 18 foot to 20 feet is industry standards. They all work appropriately. Generally, I see when we go to a 20-foot stall, sometimes they narrow the travel lane down to 22 feet instead of 24. So this is an industry standard, 18 feet, give a bigger separation to the back of the property for the existing building, for the proposed building offsets, as well as allowing for larger delivery vehicles coming in, circulating through the site. So we're trying to give as much maneuvering room throughout the site for customers as well as delivery vehicles. Also, along the front of the property, there is a 10-foot required setback to parking areas. Technically, it's not a parking area along the front, but we figured we asked for that relief, or at least highlight it to the board. We are looking to reduce that 10 feet down to 4 feet. That 4 feet area will be landscaped. And again, that is to assist and to facilitate delivery vehicles coming in and around the site, as well as not having to push the overall development even further back towards the rear property line. We're also looking at a relief from a driveway width, which is 24-foot maximum under the regulations, and we're proposing two 30-foot wide driveways. Industry standards for delivery vehicles coming into gas stations and the like, somewhere are up in the 36 to the 40-foot range. So again, we're asking this 30 feet, which we've done truck turn templates, which I'll get to in one brief moment, that demonstrates why we do necessarily need this size driveway and this type of circulation. And again, just to highlight, our proposed parking calc of 18 spaces does include 6 spaces at the dispenser. This is just a quick truck turn. As you can see, we're generally looking at a WB50 type of truck, which is the tanker truck is the biggest to be expected, pulling into the site, coming around and unloading. So as you can see, we're taking up a good chunk of that driveway. So that 30-foot width is really the minimum industry standards that you'd like to implement with these types of developments. Here's a landscape plan. So we've developed a comprehensive landscape plan. We understand that there is a nice park to the south. So what we've done is our landscape architect has added numerous evergreen trees with a couple of shade trees as well along that property to provide a depth and a screen that would be relatively aesthetic from the park view as well as the approach from North Main Street. As I mentioned before, we added a generator. We understand that's going to be a concern. We like to screen that as well. So we have provided several evergreen plantings around the generator to provide and assist with the screening of that to the abutters as well as the customers. And again, to the property line along the north, we took this opportunity to provide some various evergreen plantings, some spruce, some arborvitae and the like, to provide screening from the dumpster enclosure to the neighbor, and to try to provide, obviously an aesthetic boundary between the property to the north and our subject site. Next is just a quick drainage. The existing drainage on the site right now, the site is primarily impervious, has a fair amount of impervious on the site. So there's we're mimicking the amount of impervious surfaces on the site within a couple hundred square feet. We provided drainage calculations to the board as well as the peer reviewer, demonstrating no increase in flow. However, we're taking the opportunity to enhance the water quality coming off the site. So my I'm looking for my little, unfortunately my window is being covered here. Trying to get rid of all the people on my side here. It's not working. But regardless, apologize for that. I was going to highlight a few areas for you. But just shaded here in the purple blue is just our drainage system collecting on the site. Deep hood catch basins to prevent, to collect any petroleum, settle out any type of suspended solids that may be subject to stormwater runoff. And we're also providing a water quality unit at the end, which is enhanced. They'll get the TSS removal to the DEP stormwater requirements. And then ultimately, we're putting a new drainage structure inside the road, and we'll be connecting to the town drainage system out in North Main Street. Just quick overview on utilities. Sewer's available right in front of the site. So we're going to have sewer connecting to the existing system with the grease trap and the like. Gas is available. Public water is available, as well as the typical utilities, electric, and all the telecommunications as well. We developed an erosion control plan to address construction-related activities surrounding the site with erosion control, construction entrance mat, and the like to address construction impacts. So that was all part of the design set that was submitted to the board. We also developed a comprehensive lighting plan. During some preliminary discussions with the board, it was discussed that it would be worthwhile to add a couple of wall-mounted fixtures on the building itself to help illuminate the walkway. So we did that, incorporated some wall-mounted fixtures on that to enhance the lighting levels along the walkway. These are going to be what the intended light fixtures are going to be. This is going to be the LED slim type fixture, wall mounts. I mean, not the wall mounts. That's going to be the site mounted on a pole. I believe it's going to be 20. I believe it's mounted at 22 feet high. So the pole will be 20 feet high. We'll have a 2 foot of concrete exposed. These are going to be the canopy lights that are going to be mounted flush underneath the canopy, and as I mentioned, building lights that are going to be mounted on the side of the building. Architecture. Not the architect, but I'll give you a quick overview. Now this is the front of the building is proposed. We're going to have exterior lit sign, Brookfield Farms, and maybe an exterior lit co-brand here, depending on any type of sandwich offerings or anything like that. So we do have some of that detail for the signage on the plans that were submitted to the board. Previously, preliminary discussions with the board, we had the building and the gable end at the end of the building. It was asked that, we take a look at that, maybe add a second gable to the other side. We had our architects take a very in-depth look at that, and with 2 gables on either end, it got very busy and did not really flow well with the lines and the colonial look that we're trying to obtain. So what we did was we ended up moving that gable to the center, and added mirrored dormers. Before we just had regular standard dormers. We put the gable ends on the dormers as well to match that. So we modified the interior layout to accommodate these changes, which we thought were a great enhancement to what was previously developed. We got a gray fiberboard that's going to look like a clapboard. The pilasters at the end are all going to have nice molding along the edge and along the tops. We do have a fieldstone base along the bottom to enhance obviously the overall building. This is the side of the building, basically looking from the neighbor on the north, looking south. So as you can see, the back of the building somewhat dormered out. The mechanicals are on the top of the building over here, and they're going to be fully screened. So the way it's developed is there'll be a nice parapet wall there, All the mechanicals will be hid back. I'll show you that in the next slide here. So here's the back wall. As you can see, you can dorm it out. Here's a parapet wall, and our mechanicals will be hidden back there. And we'll have a little cutout so we can get access up, obviously. And then this is just the other side view that's facing south, so it'll be visible on the northbound approach on North Main Street. We'll have exterior lit lights over the wall signs that are located here. This door here is actually in the back of the building. There's obviously a jog in the building down at this corner here at this pilaster location. This is just a black and white version that we provided to the town that kind of called out some of the materials and things of that nature. Kind of touched base on most of those going through. This is the proposed canopy sign. The proposed canopy. We are looking to have a mansard roof, so the shingles on it will match the proposed building. And now the fascia of the canopy, we're showing as a gulf right now. The applicant has not committed or signed up any final provider for the fuel. So the Gulf is somewhat of a placeholder. It could be a mobile, but that's still in the works. But this is the general idea of what the canopy is going to look like and intended. And this is just the side elevation of it. We also have a freestanding sign, a pylon sign, which will be located at the front of the site. It will be on the south side of the property. Obviously, this is, we got the fieldstone base to match the building. We'll have the final brand that will be, coordinated with whoever the final provider of the gas will be, as well as obviously our pricing of the regular, premium, and diesel. And lastly, this one here, this is just an enclosure for the dumpster. I apologize, it's not a colored rendering, but as I mentioned before, we have the dumpster enclosure. We have a little storage shed off to the side. That's going to be covered in the light. We'll have a full masonry wall constructed, painted to match the building, so it's all cohesive. And then looking down at it, looking at it from the front elevation, as you can see, you don't see a building sticking up or anything like that. So it's just a typical building enclosure with block construction with colors to match the building. With that, that's kind of the project in a whole. I'll open that up. I spoke enough to the board for any questions or comments that you may have. I can stop sharing, or if you want me, I could leave this up if you like.
Leave it in case people have questions that
Yep, no problem.
the visuals might answer.
Very good, Jim, thank you much.
Yes, thank you for that.
So, board members, I'll give you the first dibs on the question time period. John or Sue?
The only thing that I just can't wrap my head around is the sign. I don't know why, but is it necessary to have a sign on the canopy as well as the sign in front? I would almost prefer to just have the sign in front rather than the whole big thing over the pumps themselves. I just think that that's kind of overkill, and it's pretty ugly.
Okay. Understand. It's definitely understandable. Obviously, everybody and the providers like to have their brand out there. And believe it or not, many of the canopy signs are more visual on the approach than some of the lower level freestanding signs. Obviously, there may be some work that we could do to make it a little more subtle. And we're willing to work with the board on that, but I think there's the branding, we would like to at least maintain some sort of ability to put the signs and brands on that to some extent.
Well, you have golf on the right that's in that rectangular blue box there. And then you have the little round golf thing off to the left. I mean, is it necessary to have both? Can you get away with one so that it's not, not so, it's just that it's large, it just feels like it's large. Because I know what these overhangs look like and, I just feel like it's a bit much.
I would agree with that. If you could do maybe just the branding symbol on each end of the canopy and eliminate everything in the middle, I think we're still trying to maintain our New England architecture and have the glaring color as well as the logo and the write out of the name, to me is overdone. And if we can just stick to maybe a small logo at each end of the canopy, and I don't know what is that. You're not putting, you're putting kind of like shingles at the top.
Yeah,
Is that going to be like a metal
Yeah.
trim or a skirt around the base of the canopy, or is that different material?
Clapboard, isn't it? Did you say
It
clapboard?
looks like, I wish it was clapboard.
It's not clapboard.
Or a
So
hardy board.
basically, it's a 3-foot wide fascia, and it's white with accent decaling, so it gives it a depth. Let me see what they call it here.
Is it made out of metal, or is it some other material?
Number 2. It's a 36-inch steel-framed canopy clad in flat white ACM with subtle graphic horizontal lines. So it's going to be like a metal fascia that has graphics in it. Well, the lines, not necessarily a graphic, but there'll be detailing to give it a little depth rather than just a flat,
Yes.
flat board.
Yeah, well, that's certainly worthwhile to have, but if we can downsize the signage, that would be, I think, what we're all seeking.
How long is the canopy?
Canopy from end to end is 74 feet.
74.
Ooh, that's big.
Can you put the two little round ones on there and then put the golf on the building somehow behind?
Well, John, he's got the sign that's got the, that's gonna show the costs of the gas and all that already. I think just having just the golf that's off to the left, maybe one there and maybe one on the other side, but, it's just so large. It's, I'm not happy with that.
Me either.
Yes?
Should just
Oh, yeah, if you want.
So, is there any work on branding colors? So a lot of towns manage this with coloring so that they're not tiger orange.
So I theoretically what I did was I put the two most outstanding colors on the canopy because I figured that would be the worst of the worst in terms of going with the brand. Because we really don't know what brand we're going to go with yet.
Yep.
So if there's particular colors that the town would like, then I can lead me towards a brand. Obviously, that's a business decision on the other end as well. But if the town would prefer mobile or shell, like is there a canopy that you guys drive by and you're like, oh, that really looks nice, as opposed to, because just putting a white canopy, yeah, but because just putting a white canopy or changing the color scheme, I've had stations in towns like that and it's just boring and it's just not, it doesn't bring people to, the reason why we have that advertising on canopy, so people will pull in, we need traffic, and it draws attention, and the little sign doesn't always, pull people in. So if there's a particular color scheme that you prefer, I mean, a mobile, obviously it's all blue, and it's just a one mobile sign, you know what I mean? We're willing to work with that, but we just need to get the feedback.
Can you shrink it down a little bit, Chris?
Yeah,
Instead of going, well, you're 75 feet, it looks like you got 40 feet of sign,
yeah,
roughly.
absolutely.
I mean, if you could shrink it
And
down
that-
to 10,
Right, and
And the symbol?
that's like brand specific too. So
Right,
like if you
yeah.
go with the mobile, it might only be the mobile in the corner.
yeah.
Same thing with the shell, it's just an emblem in the corner.
Can we get visual samples so that we
Yeah, I think
understand?
that's absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because apparently they're not good with this.
Yeah, so if you're not good with the colors, we can do something.
Blue is
It might not be
possible
golf
orange.
anymore because that's golf's colors, I can't change it.
What color is the building gonna be?
I think he has a
It's going to be a gray color.
gray.
Grayish?
Yeah. We have a colored rendering here.
Well, let's see if we can do something that'll kinda go with the gray?
Yeah, I mean, I could do a mobile, I just, you know, mobile generally is a little bit more of an expensive brand. I was trying to bring something also on the other side of affordability to the town. So, just keep that in
Look,
mind.
I'm not so nervous about whatever the heck the brand is. What I don't want to see is a giant thing as you come into the center of town, overhang, you know, on the side that completely says, you know, mobile, golf, Sunoco, whatever the heck it is, from one end to the next. I mean, I feel like since you've got the one sign that's got the prices of gas, that's already there, and I know that certain gas companies require that you have a certain amount of their signage, but I just don't want to see on that overhang way too much of that, you know, that, I think it would be well served for the people of town if it were more conservative as
So is
opposed
it
to
the
over the
Gulf
top.
lettering that bother, like the actual sign of Gulf, or is it the colors that bother you?
I think it's the
Well,
orange.
I mean,
The
The
orange.
orange stripe.
The color isn't pretty, let's put it that way, but just, you know,
That's
I
why I
mean,
put the worst one.
having the big letters of golf on the right, and then you've got the hanging thing. I like the hanging thing, that I can see, but, you know, it seems like it's a little bit of overkill, that's all.
Okay,
So if you take the golf out from the left,
There's
is that
the-
gonna do it?
yeah, there's different.
Just the emblem on the left?
This one?
No, the one on the left.
No, because she doesn't like
No.
the
They don't
orange.
like the
No,
orange.
no, he had it, the blue one.
Oh, the slow
Get
one.
rid of the blue.
And if it was all blue, that would be, like if it was a mobile, would it be better, worse?
I'd like to see
I know I'm
two
being
circles at
fussy.
each end of the
Because there's only
canopy.
three,
I
there's
don't
three
want to see anything in the
colors.
middle.
There's three colors, oh, you don't want to see anything on the canopy.
Can you do two circles? See the circle on the left says
Do the
golf?
left
Yeah.
circle and repeat it on the right, and that's all you need.
I
Or
don't
two
know.
golf,
I
really
think
you know,
that has to do
flying,
with
whatever, or
brand,
two
you know what I mean?
Sunoco flying
I
or
think the
mobile.
brand dictates a lot.
They
of
dictate a
that, is what
lot.
I'm
I mean,
saying.
it's,
Yeah.
if you go up
Yeah,
90 Mass Pike, you'll see golf all over the place, and you can kind of see a better, maybe a better shot of what it would look like. Or, you know, you guys all know what mobile looks like, it's just a
Is
blue
shell
stripe
red?
with a mobile.
Is shell red or yellow?
Shell is yellow,
Yellow.
so it was yellow, orange, or blue, so, you know.
I think overwhelmingly people would like blue, but I get your point about the cost efficiency of.
Yeah,
Would it be
Golf.
feasible to eliminate the orange striping and keep the blue Golf?
that's up to the golf rep,
That's,
Yeah.
That would be the Golf rep that would have to dictate that, yeah.
because I can't just change their color scheme.
Right.
All right, moving on, in terms of the golf freestanding sign, is it possible to put the, kind of a man-side canopy on top of that? To dress it up a little?
We have to talk to
And
the
is it
architect.
double-sided?
Yes, that will be double-sided.
So it'll be digital on both
It
sides?
will be digital on both sides, yes.
And is it lit? I don't see any lighting listed for it.
No, that's gonna be internally lit.
So it glows?
It's
Full
LED.
glow. The electronic pricing will be, you know, obviously so we could change it when prices change and the like. It's not gonna be continuous changing, obviously, but, and the Golf, in the Golf Express would be proposed to be internally lit.
Does Golf have like a Cape Cod version? I mean, like, because they have to go into places like Sturbridge that don't want them.
Yeah,
So,
but they're not as
They're not as-
so. I mean, in
We want
regards
the
to.
Cape Cod version.
they have a Simcoe, which is red. They have a shell, which is yellow.
this isn't my fight. I don't have any skin in that game. I don't care.
So
Yeah,
this
sometimes if
sign
your color
is
scheme,
12
you can't change it.
by
That's
12
what it
feet.
is.
Yeah,
and it's set back from the street by 10 feet. So it's sitting back and looking across at the park.
It's on the south side, right?
But it's gonna be,
Will it compete with that town sign? Is, I guess, my question, if it's on the south side.
The town
That's on the
sign
same
is right, and the town sign's relatively close as well.
well, it's way down the corner, but your other
Yeah.
one is up, way up there.
Yeah,
Then you got the trees starting,
Mm-hmm.
the shading.
yeah. So the town sign's right around this location here.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably, it's almost at the back of the sidewalk. It's not that far off, so ours will be set back further into the site a little bit.
Okay, anything else about signage?
Is that on all night sign?
We have the ability to play with those signs. Now, obviously, we're gonna keep lights on overnight,
Right,
for security and the like.
yeah,
But we should be able to have programming to shut it off during certain times.
okay.
Michelle, can anybody else talk?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm Betsy Cuddy. I'm your direct abutter to the north. So I would have a couple concerns about those because albeit we're a business by day, we are residential at night. So I would be concerned about the largeness of the signs, the brightness of the signs, and how late you plan on keeping those lights on. Because that could be bothersome. From a residential standpoint, that could be bothersome.
If I may, through the chair, obviously, I believe the hours of operation are anticipated to be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. So site lighting would be, dimmed down, shut off with minimal lights for security reasons, done at that 11:30 mark once the employees leave the site. We did pick the location for the freestanding sign to be on the opposite side of the residential property, just for, try to, give more room to enhance that buffer on your property, as well as give you greater separation of the freestanding sign. So, we did take a look at that. I don't think the sign's gonna be visible from your property with the screening that's being proposed along the property line that, for the site as well as the dumpster. So I don't foresee the freestanding sign being a significant issue from viewing of your property.
I wasn't so much concerned about the freestanding sign as much as I was that canopy. I have to agree with Sue, that's not pretty. So, okay, I just, those are some of my concerns, obviously.
Could you cite the location for the 22-foot pole light?
Sure, certainly. There's a 22-foot pole light right here, but the pole is directed to the site and it's a forward throw, so it's throwing it away from the property line.
Is that on 24/7?
No, it doesn't have to
Not
be.
backwards?
It'll be on.
During open hours.
But the canopy lights will be on while we're open. I mean, we can't have people filling up in the dark.
Right, and the other site light is over here at the other entrance as well, so that's on the other side.
That's a pole light as well?
That's a pole light as well. We'll have to move that a couple feet so we don't conflict with the sign, but those are little construction-related items.
But those are down lights, they're not floodlights, it's more
No,
of a
it's-
down light LED fixture.
Correct. We just,
Can I ask a quick question?
yes.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, what is the overall length? It looks like, I'm guessing like 125, 130 feet from part one end north to south in the paved area?
Let me see, we got something with some good dimensions here.
I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of, how much of, of this entire block is this development gonna take?
A third.
Bear with me one moment here. Get to the right sheet. So our property frontage is 156 feet. That's property line to property line. So property line to property line. And I'm going to do a quick measure. So pavement to pavement, we are 122 feet.
Wow, really congested.
Yeah.
Can you tell me if you know the maturity of the plantings at the time that they're put in? Like, we've been promised trees before and gotten shrubs.
Oh, I understand.
I know that mature plantings are expensive, but
Yes.
So is there
That's why
like a
we went a little heavy. Let me just get to the right sheet.
Mona got 20 footers.
yeah, well, the solar field down by me got twigs.
Did it? Oh,
Not that I don't love solar.
There we
But
go.
I just jumped into something totally different. I think I've heard from people that they're waiting to get into the meeting and have been waiting for a long time.
where the waiting room goes when we're in this view? Anybody know that?
You want me to stop
You
sharing?
click on participants at the bottom, and then it should be able to tell you the waiting room if you're the host.
My apologies for not knowing how to see that during the meeting. I was thinking about it. Thank you for letting me know, Ethan.
All right. So, for the, at the time of planting, the tree, the evergreens, the arborvitaes are 5 to 6 feet at plantings. The firs and spruces that are proposed are 6 to 7 feet. And then the maples that are going to be planted, they give you the caliper. They're 1.5 to 2 inches in caliber, or 2.5 inch in caliber. Those are generally about 8 feet high. You know, when you get to the 2.5 inch caliber, you're probably talking more 10 feet high at that point. And then the shrubs and the rhododendrons are, 2 to 3.5 feet, depending on the species.
Thank you.
Okay, beyond the questions that have already been put forth, are there any additional ones?
I have some statements and some questions.
All right.
Okay, I have a little bit of a different perspective here. I lived 2 doors down for the last 17 years. I wrote a lot of statements and some questions. I should be the first person to jump onto this option of having a variety store away from me. I wouldn't have to add to the hundreds of phone calls to the police because of my driveway being blocked whenever someone tried to get out and leave my property. Of all the daily noise nuisance of multiple vehicles left idling, especially the diesels, trucks operating, left running, idling while people went inside the variety store across the street. But I'm looking at a wider, bigger picture here for the future and in the town in general. The downtown business overlay spent years researching and implementing a program to address all the needs, and yet a gas station was not part of that. The downtown revitalization program envisions a more walkable downtown for pedestrians and people, and a gas station would not do that. It would do just the opposite, with cars driving in and cars driving out. A gas station would add more traffic to the most congested 1/4 mile in the entire town. It would cause less safety in walking, crossing the street, and that's even before the townhouse gets opened, which is in the future plans. And this is cars not just from North Brookfield, but Ocam and New Braintree, because they don't have a gas station in their towns either. Being right across from the townhouse, this location is also directly opposite the driveway of Nash Contracting and the parking lot behind there for the tenants of the Duncan building, the Munn building, and the employees that work in both the Nash Contracting, the Munn building, and the Duncan building. They all park down there. So this is going to be, in and out, it's just going to be insane. Now, I want to bring something to everyone's attention. Right now, on this end of Main Street, there are 38 parking spots for the 19 potential businesses when the townhouse reopens.
And Michelle, wait 1 second. Michelle Petranis, there are more people in the waiting room waiting to come in.
I don't see any.
It's Carol Kelly. It's Carol Kelly, do you see it? No?
No, it's not showing a waiting room right now.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead, Michelle, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to repeat that because this is really important. Right now we have, on this side of Main Street, there are 38 parking spots for the 19 potential businesses once the townhouse opens. And when the street gets updated, if we take money from the state is going to require us to eliminate the suicide parking. That's gonna result in the elimination of 13 parking spots. So there's gonna be 25 parking spots, or just 1.3 parking spot per business. It's insane. And that's when none of the employees of said businesses park in those spots, which is happening now. It happens on a daily basis. But one of my biggest concern, I'm gonna say, is the double parking that the delivery trucks do. Because of all the vehicles on the street, there's not a lot of vehicles because there's not a lot of spots, they double park. And I want to show a picture of double parking on both sides of the streets that has occurred at the same time, basically resulting in the stoppage of traffic. I don't know if everyone can see this. Can everyone see that? It's basically a Coca-Cola truck and a white tractor trailer on the other side with no branding on it. But they're both doing deliveries at the same time, and because they're both double parked, traffic can't even get by. That's not going to go away. It's going to get worse once the town gets once the town rebuilds the street and loses those parking spots. There's going to be traffic jams already. And when you add in all the traffic of in and out of a gas station, it just seems insane. Let me continue. Allowing a gas station would also set a bad precedent. My own property is 90% in the industrial area as per map 3 of the North Brookfield Downtown Business Zoning PDA number 212-10. So technically, I could come back and ask for a special permit to operate a manufacturing facility here. And I don't think either one of these options is part of the downtown environment that most town people would want to see downtown. Okay, now since you're asking for a special permit because you're abutting a residential area on one side and a park on the other, I believe that in such a case that you're asking for this special permit, that no setback requirements should be waived. I could understand a special permit if all requirements were met. But basically asking for all planning and zoning requirements to be thrown out the window so you could build a gas station on a drastically undersized lot in the most extremely congested area in the entire town is insanely objectionable. And the town people seeking to enjoy sitting in the town park are going to expect to smell gas and diesel and looking at a commercial sign. Is this the vision that the downtown revitalization had in mind when they were doing this? And also the downtown business overlay? They spent years studying, researching what the town wanted, what the town needed, and yet a gas station was never on that list. I think there's much more better suited areas in town. If this is something that this company wanted to do, Chooches was for sale a couple of years ago or last year, that would have been the perfect spot. But putting it in such a congested area that you want to make walkability, it's insane, because we're having it right now. It's barely walkable, but when you're having this kind of in and out traffic, these people are driving in and they're driving out. They're not driving, parking, and shopping at the local stores and stuff. They're driving in, they're getting the gas, and they're leaving. This is not something that we want downtown. Now I have a couple of questions. I have 4. I added one.
Excuse me, Michelle. Can
Yes.
we come down to a 2-minute mark so other people have an opportunity to speak, please?
Sure. I'll try and go as fast as I can.
Thank you.
I always envisioned this town, especially with the townhouse being so memorable, as a quaint, small downtown. This doesn't seem to fit that. So I'm asking, has a traffic study been done, and will there be one conducted not during COVID that would take into consideration the reduced parking when the overhaul is done? Has an impact study been done, taking those same considerations? And now you're severely asking, the developers here are asking that all setback requirements be met or ignored so that they can fit a facility that doesn't fit in this location. I would appreciate anybody's time and consideration for the response, and for responses.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So, Jim, you could probably make at least one remark regarding traffic.
Yeah, I can make a few. Obviously, she touched base about some foot traffic on the site. Obviously, the applicant is going to welcome foot traffic on the property. We're actually enhancing the sidewalks across the frontage of the property with new sidewalks, which would obviously promote, safer pedestrian connectivity through the area. She also mentioned a lot of the existing concerns about parking on street, loading on street, and the like. I'd like to add that this is a relocation of the existing convenience store that's, I think, currently across the street from her house. So that in itself would offset part of the concern of the vehicles directly in front of her house, the loading in that front area as well. And this facility is going to be self-contained. We have off-street parking, so we're not going to impede on any of the existing parking spaces along North Main Street. Again, the site is going to be self-contained with off-street parking and loading as well. We do have a significant loading area where we're going to be unfueling our...
You're going to put that in writing? Is that going to be a condition? Because that is the biggest problem. It's the double parking on Main Street.
Well, yes.
Is that going to be in writing? Is that going to be mandated? If you're going to close down and shut down and move away if you don't comply?
Michelle, can you let them finish before you remark again, please?
Basically, the site plan shows off-street parking, which will be built. It shows adequate area for off-street loading in the fuel facility. Obviously, it's going to be timed such that the box trucks for Coca-Cola, the Frito-Lays have adequate space on site, not to conflict with any site circulation or conflict with any vehicular traffic in North Main Street. So again, self-contained, off-street parking and loading as well. As well as touch base on setting a precedence to allow for a gas station. Precedence, obviously, each case has its own warrants. Obviously, I would defer to the board to...
This lot had a gas station once upon a time, so
okay.
It's not a precedent.
So
it's a repeat.
That's very good. And let me see, delivery, off-street foot traffic. Obviously, regarding the setbacks, the existing infrastructure right now, I think we demonstrated, is right up against property lines, and the setbacks that are there now are grossly non-conforming. The redevelopment enhances those setbacks, includes significant landscaping updates and the like. So I think with the enhanced setbacks in the comprehensive landscape plan that we put forth, we're minimizing those types of impacts to the neighbors and the surrounding areas by, once again, enhancing those setbacks, increasing them, and incorporating a very dense screen along the abutting properties. And lastly, there was a question regarding traffic. At the onset of the project, we did discuss with the traffic engineer. Ultimately, we decided not to move forward with a full-fledged traffic study. The type of use, a convenience store, fueling station, it is a convenience. People generally do not go out of their way to stop, pick up a pack of gum, or stop and get gas. It's generally what we call a drive-by traffic generator, meaning I believe 90% of the vehicles that go to the site will be a pass-by traffic generator, meaning people from Hannaford's don't go shopping while they get gas. They stop and get gas before they go shopping. So it's a destination, or they stop and get gas on their way to work or to and from work. So in the discussions and looking at the overall size of the development, it's relatively small as it relates to a convenience store and a fueling operation. So based on that and the years of experience and the dozens upon dozens of gas stations that we've done before, we're confident in saying that there wouldn't be any significant impact as it relates to any traffic that may be generated from the site. With that, I think I touched base on some of the major ones, and some of the other ones are more for the board's consideration.
Okay. You have one follow-up, Michelle, or are you good for the moment?
Yes, I have one follow-up question. You're requesting 8 pumps or 10 pumps?
No.
We're looking at 3 pumps with 6 fueling positions, meaning you could park on either. So.
And how many was there in the prior, when it was a gas station prior to this? Years ago, like 100 years ago?
Well, 100 years ago, I mean, the smallest one I've ever seen is 2. So it wouldn't be that much of a, but I don't know what it was in the past.
3 times was what?
I think Tashina had a question.
Okay, Tashina, do you have a question?
Unmute.
Yes, I just, I wanted to comment on the traffic thing. While I think it's important that we remember that we're in a unique situation in North Brookfield, where most gas stations do get their traffic by driving by, we have 2 abutting towns that do not have access to a gas station, and that we will be their closest gas station. We as North Brookfield residents right now do leave town specifically to get gas, especially if we work in town and our kids go to school in town. We do have to leave town to go get gas specifically. And I know that our other abutting residents in New Braintree and Barry will be doing the same. So they will be making special trips to North Brookfield. We are not an average town when it comes to the situation. Second of all, as a parent who lives downtown, I specifically moved to North Brookfield to stay in a local rural area so my kids could live in a community that doesn't have giant corporations smack dab in the center of our rural, quiet town. I'm all for small businesses. This is not a small business. I'm actually extremely disappointed in what I'm seeing right now. I was kind of excited for this proposal, but the idea that you want to commercialize and throw a city-looking, and feeling gas station smack dab in the center of our town, right across from the town hall that I've been really working hard on promoting and been really excited for the development of. I feel like this is kind of like taking a step backwards. I have a lot of questions, but I just wanted to comment on the aesthetic itself. It kind of just really makes me upset. I will hold my questions in case someone else asks them for later, but so I don't take up too much space. But I just want to say, in general, I'm extremely disappointed in the proposal.
Okay, very good. I think what we'll, depending on how many people want to talk, and that number we do not know at this time, I will have everybody speak for a maximum of 3 minutes, and then so we can get everybody covered, and then once we have everybody covered in the room and on the Zoom call, then we'll go to repeat follow-ups. If that's okay with everybody, that's the way we'll proceed. So who is somebody new that has additional questions? David.
Yes, I wanted to just indicate that my wife was trying to get on via Zoom since 7:20. She tried at 7:15, didn't have the right passcode, but she's been on since 7:20. No one's ever let her in.
She's not in the waiting room though. Everybody's texting me about her. She's not in the waiting room. I can't help her unless she's in the waiting room. So I'm not sure where she
hasn't been able to properly connect.
Yeah.
Well, I also tried to log on also, and when I did, it says waiting for. It was waiting for someone to accept.
There was a period during the presentation where I didn't see the waiting room. Those people have been admitted, and I am keeping it open now to see, but nobody's in the waiting room.
I
Okay,
see
well,
Ava's name here,
Yeah,
so is she not on?
it says she's connecting, but I don't know what,
we
She's
were
been
not,
admitted.
we could not see anything. We didn't get any, they had to, something had to be done so that we'd be able to see what's going on.
she's right here. I don't know if she's having trouble
Well,
connecting.
I don't think she's trying now because she gave
I would
up.
tell Eva to leave and then come back. That's something that's kind of common with Zoom.
Why would her
having
name show
issues.
up if she wasn't connected?
It
But
does,
it's just a glitch. It really, I know it's frustrating. I know it's, irritating, but it's not, it's just a technical
Well,
issue. I would
I
have her
can't
leave
contact-
and then rejoin.
I can't contact her now, but I did want to make some comments for her. One, we're talking about saying, well, there used to be a gas station there, that the traffic patterns back 100 years ago are a little different than they are today. So I think we need to consider in terms of safety and what the town needs, we look at what the current situation is. But what Eva wanted me to talk about was the fact that very shortly, we hopefully will be getting some input from the TAP, that's a technical assistance program that the state offers, and also from community one-stop sort of shopping. These are both state programs that aim to give us funding and support in terms of addressing updating zoning and for long-term plans for this community in terms of that some of this could involve substantial sums of money for redeveloping the downtown. If we make if we do some changes right now with zoning that could hamper our ability to adapt some of their strategies, I think it's going to be I think it would certainly behoove us to wait until we at least get some input from these programs to find out, well, what is the strategy and what's the potential. Some of the programs are talking about millions of dollars in development, and I'd hate to see us lose out on substantial funding because we've rushed to vote. And if you're voting on something, I don't know if you're voting on something tonight for sure or not, but if you were, the fact that some people that on Zoom aren't able to get through, I just wanted you to be aware that there's a number of people, at least my wife and myself, that would have wanted to vote to postpone any decision until you have that input.
nobody's waiting and we have not had a vote, so we're not there.
You're not having votes, okay. So this
Well, we
is just
didn't
discussion
have
tonight?
This is discussion tonight? Yes.
Okay.
And I apologize for the delay, and during the presentation, I didn't know how to see the waiting room, but there's nobody in there right now.
Okay, anybody else with?
Betsy had her hand up a little while ago.
No, I was only going to say that I appreciate the thought and consideration that's gone into the parking, into those kinds of things, but there is really a true disrespect for the businesses in town right now for when it comes to deliveries. And it's just it is a constant source of frustration in that our driveways are constantly blocked. And it is frustrating because we do ask them to respect the parking spots that we have in front of our businesses and to respect our driveways. And they just don't.
Ignore it.
So
Ignore it.
I think that that's a little bit of a problem. I do think the building is a beautiful building, and I think that the thought behind the small quintessential town is there. I just do feel that probably some of those concerns that were expressed earlier are paramount for a small town and for the current residents and businesses that are there. We will have to have a parking ban put in place for those big trucks. They're supposed to be delivering in the back of the building, not in the front of the building, but they deliver in the front, and they really truly do block our driveways. I was just going to agree with that, that's all.
Ethan has his hand up.
Ethan?
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to say, I did submit something to the board earlier, just in case there were issues with Zoom, but so you guys will have it for record. But I want to say, number one, like I would love to see a gas station in town. I think that we need new businesses, we need new employers, we need sort of new life. However, I think that this location, and now that I'm seeing it for the first time, this design, are the wrong thing for nearly a quarter of our entire road frontage downtown. So I'm just going to read the letter that I wrote to the planning board, just so people can hear. As a resident of North Brookfield, I would like to respectfully request that the board decline to move forward CMG Engineering and CCS Realty LLC's application for the special permit to develop and construct a gas station at the location that we're discussing tonight. While a gas station may be warranted and welcome addition to North Brookfield, it's my opinion that the proposed location would be detrimental to the short and long-term improvements and development of our downtown district. It stands in opposition to the work that local groups, committees, and individuals have done to plan for our downtown's future. Will likely, as we've heard much about, introduce traffic issues and is in direct conflict with current zoning bylaws, Chapter 4, Section E.1 and Chapter 4, Section E.6.b. Many individuals in town have spent a huge amount of time envisioning, planning, sourcing funds, and developing comprehensive and cohesive plans to create a vibrant, walkable, and culturally rejuvenated downtown. I'm glad that Michelle mentioned earlier efforts, prior even to our current downtown development committee and other groups now. There's been work many years, in the pipes. A large gas station complex placed in the very center of our small downtown district will have a massive and negative impact on the viability of North Brookfield's cultural and commercial revitalization. We need to create a downtown district that will draw visitors in and invite them to interact. Main Street needs to be enticing to new businesses as well as to visitors, and if nearly half of the block opposite our historic townhouse and what will hopefully be our future cultural center were to be a gas station, we would lose what makes our downtown attractive to businesses and to visitors. Part of repairing downtown's infrastructure should include making our streets and sidewalks as pedestrian-friendly as possible. Main Street is and will continue to be a primary walking route for school kids and for seniors, and a business with vehicles constantly interrupting this pathway is both potentially dangerous as well as a deterrent to increased foot traffic. And I know that the engineer spoke earlier about new sidewalks, and that's great, and the sidewalks desperately need to be redone, but a new sidewalk that's broken up twice by in and outward traffic is not in any way drawing people in or inviting pedestrian traffic. Additionally, since the proposed site is so close to a large existing intersection, the vehicle traffic created by a gas station will likely increase vehicular and pedestrian congestion at what's already a really difficult location. That intersection in the center of town is really a mess, and that's something that I know the town is working on making better, but this most certainly will not help and could impede changes. Lastly, a gas station is in contravention to our existing zoning bylaw, which explicitly prohibits, quote, drive-through operations. A gas station's traffic pattern is virtually identical to a drive-through restaurant. It encourages speedy transactions. It does not encourage or even allow for a customer to linger or visit neighboring local businesses. When the bylaw was written, the intent was, quote, to ensure historic development patterns in the existing town center to create an attractive, walkable neighborhood, and a gas station violates both the intent and the specific prohibition. So that's my statement. I don't have any specific questions on the design at this point, but I just wanted that to be known. I also would just like to mention that I did have more than 25 people sign on to the sentiments of this letter that I've written. All residents of North Brookfield.
All right, thank you. I would like to state in our zoning bylaw, it says about the downtown overlay district, it says it is to encourage adaptive reuse of abandoned, vacant, and underutilized buildings or structures where appropriate, allow for a mix of dual land uses that are appropriate to both the needs of the community and the scale of surrounding neighborhoods. And so,
I would argue, Bill, that the scale of surrounding neighborhood also is key in that phrase.
and I would say this is probably a scaled project that does fit the neighborhood. It's not larger than the abutting place, and in fact, it's adjacent to an industrial building that is mammoth in size. So, anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Yes, John Alpin, Ashley Road.
Yes, Dennis.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
I'm concerned that you have a trash, I'm assuming it's a front-end loading container there and nothing for recycling there, and you're gonna probably have quite a bit of recycling to go on, probably a container as big, if not bigger than the trash one. And I'm also concerned, without looking at the plans for that, having designed quite a few container, I hate it when there's fences on them. I know people put them on them to make them look better, but it essentially cuts the size. And if you could tell me the opening on the front of that with the hinged doors, that would help me. I haven't actually been able to look at this prior to tonight.
So we have an 8'6" opening.
Yeah, and usually the containers that you're gonna have in there are gonna be 8 foot. So it gives you very little room to maneuver them in and pick them. But I just, would also like to see something of equal size for your recycling there, similar to what Dollar General has going on. I believe they have a recycling bin as well.
This is something
Something to think about, and again, and I would, check those plans with whoever you want to have pull those containers, see that they can actually get an 8-foot container through an 8'6" without destroying the fence.
Well, the applicant will work with ultimately their final vendor for trash delivery in that, and the dumpster size will be, selected to accommodate what their intended use is. There may be some flexibility with changing that opening a little bit, depending on what the final dumpster size is, but the intent is to select one of the various numerous dumpster sizes that are out there to fit what our proposed enclosure is. As far as recyclable goes, the intent is to keep some recyclables more in the smaller handheld wheeling aspect of it, most likely probably located in the back room or at the back of the building. So at this point, there's no proposal to have a separate dedicated dumpster and or enclosure for recycling.
Yeah, I think you should, look at what kind of volumes you're going to be coming up with. 'Cause my guess is you're going to have more cardboard than you're going to have trash.
Comment noted, the applicant will work with their vendor and making sure they get the right size dumpsters and the like.
Brandon Avery has a question.
Brandon.
He's in the.
He's over here, Bill.
He's right here.
Hey, Bill.
Hi, Brandon.
Yeah, on the driveways, there's 2 separate driveways. Are they going to be dedicated one way, like one in and one out?
No, each driveway will be full movement access, so there'll be entrance and exits at both driveway locations.
Well, I think there's a big concern about traffic. Don't you think it'd be beneficial to have like one entrance and one exit, and maybe even thinking about on the exit have no left-hand turn so you're not cutting across lanes of traffic?
No, the roadway it's a rural roadway. We understand that it may be the major roadway for the town. However, it's not really a significant volume generator that's going to warrant restrictions of right turns out of the property.
Well, depending on time of day.
Excuse me?
Depending on time of day, it is quite congested coming through that area, especially right near the intersection there. I live here, I know it gets
understood.
Very busy.
And generally, we understand it's congested, but the time that it takes, you may have to wait 15, 30 seconds. I know 30 seconds seems like a lifetime when you're there,
well,
but it's not really a long time to wait. And restricting entrances, one to be an entrance, one to be an exit, actually causes more internal circulation conflict, because now everybody doesn't know, oh, I went the wrong way, they're making an extra loop around the island. And it does give the availability where people want to take a left-hand turn out, they will generally go out one exit. Well, the other person says, well, I'm going to go out the other exit so I can take a quick right-hand turn out. So it gives the customer better options to have a fluid, entrance and exit from the site, as well as the internal circulation.
Community didn't actually really do a traffic survey. I think, I would consider it, but, I'm not a traffic expert, but it just seems to me that right near the intersection there, it does, as people point out too, with the issues with parking and stuff, it does generate a lot of traffic in that area. Okay, moving on, I don't want to take too much time. On the issue of the canopy sign, there's concerns about how big it is. Maybe check with the vendor and see what their minimum acceptable size is, because it's not like you're looking across a highway trying to find a gas station. I mean, you're looking across the street at maximum. So if you could cut that down, I see. I mean,
yeah, we could work with.
Just find. If you could get back maybe to the board and find out what the minimum size is acceptable.
Yeah, as mentioned, the applicant has options for the different brands and the
Yeah,
sizes.
I mean,
we'll take a look at that.
like you mentioned, you're going to want to go with something reasonably priced, so people aren't going to stop and buy the gas. Right, so, maybe if the vendors are able to cut that down, that might be more acceptable.
That's something we can work with.
Do you have fire suppression in the canopy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
the
does
state
the
park.
size of the canopy get dictated by the amount of the pumps for the fire suppression?
By the number of pumps, the size of the canopy. The size of the canopy is generated by basically the layout of the pumps. So we have adequate coverage for
3 pumps.
Yeah, for 3 pumps,
Right.
the customers, and the like.
So reducing it in size probably isn't an option.
I'm not saying
Reducing the signage on it.
Signage itself?
Yeah. That some people have kind of an issue with how
Gotcha.
large that sign was. I think, we talk to the vendor and say, hey, look, this is on the main street, and the furthest you're going to be looking at it is like 60 feet away. You don't need a huge sign. You can cut that down.
We have one comment from a group that can't get on, Carol and Dennis Kelly. He says the odor generated by Vibram is going to be a lot more significant than anything from a gas pump. He also says that Vibram is a commercial business like this gas station is, and we need businesses to keep the town going forward. And then the to-go option at Hannaford's is a drive-through more than a gas station. And we still, that's his sum total.
Also, I want to say, in response to the letter, no zoning changes are required for this project. There's a big misconception in this town that this is drive-through and/or that it is prohibited. It is not drive-through, and there are no zoning changes that will be required to actually make this happen.
Yeah. And if I may, I've never heard. I'd just like to add, I've never heard of a gas station being considered a drive-through use. You actually need to get out of your car to perform the service. And generally, if you want to take a loose interpretation of a drive-through, I've seen it saying, where you are being serviced in your car. You're not. You have to stop, shut your vehicle off, it's full off, and get out of your vehicle to perform the service.
Which also speaks to the idling concern, because you're not supposed to be idling.
Correct.
Anywhere, at the pumps, or who's going to leave their car outside idling? I mean, that's irresponsible. Anyway.
Could I ask one quick question about that?
Yes, Ethan.
My question is, if, considering our town bylaws use this term drive-through operations, but nowhere in the bylaws are they defined, and it does appear that there's some, people believe differently about how to interpret this, this term, would it not make sense to pause and create a definition for this term to be applied in situations?
Way ahead of you, Ethan. We've already put something together, and it's part of the March 17th meeting that we're proposing to add to the bylaws because it came up at the town meeting, both that and adult entertainment, which please do not start talking about it. I'm just telling you, we made a definition that
So there's
will
a
be
March
proposed.
There's a March 17th town meeting?
There's a March 17th public hearing at our planning board meeting.
Okay, I thought the bylaw changes went to town meeting, no?
They have a public hearing first, and then we go and write articles for the town meeting after the public hearing.
Okay.
And it'll be in the new leader, hopefully tomorrow or Friday, whenever you get your issue.
All right.
Bill?
Yes.
Can I point out something really quick?
Just a minute,
He's speaking on the floor.
Dale is talking, thank you.
If a term is not defined in a bylaw, then the term is defined by its common usage in its dictionary definition. That's what you get for the, so people can't make up a loose definition of it and try to squeeze it in. There are common use definitions that are used in place of defined terms. So the town can alter a definition by putting it in. But if it's not in, it's a common definition.
And the definition, just as a little background, that we are proposing is from the New England area, it's from other towns, it's an amalgamation of what we believe to be applicable here. So it's not just the best definition that we could find for ourselves. It is representative of this area. And the gentleman in the back, who I don't know, had his hand up.
Charlie Wall. I don't disagree that this town definitely needs a gas station. But anybody who's traveled off South Main Street at the corner of Hannaford can tell you that that section of road is an absolutely busy section of road. There are times you sit there for over 5 minutes to try to pull out of that intersection to go up.
Like Dale said, the definition is in Webster's.
I don't want to discourage a gas station in any way, because I know this town really does need one. But I'm sure all of us have traveled that section of the road and know that pain to try to pull out of that road, out of South Main Street, onto that main road. Just knowing that the traffic just back to back to back in both directions, multiple exits for out of Hannaford, this would be no different than what would happen in the center of the town. Just wanted to have that be said.
I do think it's noteworthy, because everybody is talking about traffic concerns, that everything that everybody wants to do for this town regarding the town hall, bringing business to town, opening bakeries, etc., all would bring a traffic increase. So now we have townspeople that are basically trying to decide which traffic they like better. Is it gas station or town hall traffic? I find this to be a little unsettling, that we're not acknowledging the elephant in the room, that in order to make this town grow, there has to be more traffic. So I'm not sure what the town wants, to grow or not to grow, because that's the question. And now I sound like Shakespeare.
Way to go.
All right, we'll go back to Dave.
Well, I'm just going to say that what's common usage of the term, many terms you look at, there are multiple meanings if you look up any definition. I personally, when I think of a drive-through, I certainly would think of driving into a gas station and sitting in your car while someone comes and fills your tank, or it brings you, or a lot of these places now you can order food and they'll bring out a drink or something for you. I'm not going to be doing that, but you still...
Neither one of those definitions are what this board recognizes.
The what?
Neither one of those definitions you are stating does this board recognize as being legitimate.
And this isn't full serve.
No.
It's self-serve, so you cannot possibly do both.
The only example of a drive-through in North Brookfield at the present time is the Savings Bank. That is a drive-through. The Hannaford stop-to-go is not a drive-through. A gas filling station is not a drive-through.
And the bank was put in without this board's knowledge.
Yeah, and the bank doesn't really go on, it goes into a parking lot. That's not going on, it's not really a true drive-through in the sense that you drive into the telling area.
Drive-through is not highway accessible.
Drive-through.
Yeah.
That's a drive-through, whether it goes into a parking lot or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a drive-through because you're going to a window, you're having a service, your engine's still running, they're handing you something, you're handing them something, and then you pull off. That's a drive-through.
Patrick has his hand up and has not had a question yet.
I just wanted to note that during the presentation, even the engineer had said that it was a drive-by business. Might be a little bit of semantics there as far as drive-by and drive-through. I also wanted to echo a lot of the traffic concerns. I do believe we do need a gas station somewhere in town. But as has been said repeatedly, like that is the busiest part of town. Trying to pull out of Summer Street down there with cars parked on both sides is quite difficult. Or if you're pulling out on that parking lot by the town hall, you know, if someone's taking a left-hand turn out of that gas station and someone's pulling out, trying to back out of that parking right there, it could get quite dangerous.
If I may, Chair, just to address it real quickly. When we stated a drive-by type of use, it's how the traffic is generated going to the site. Cars do not go down the road to go to the site. They generally are driving by it, and it's a convenience stop. Oh, I'm going to pick up gas before I go home, or I'm going to pick up gas on my way to get groceries. So it's like a pass-by type of traffic generator. And that's one of the reasons why we think that it won't be a significant traffic generator, because the majority of the people using the facility will be people that are driving by the site regardless. Just wanted to talk about, your last concern about cars potentially backing out, and is there a conflict? No matter what type of use that's there, that suicide parking, as it was maybe referred to previously, is in existence. So what we're doing is we're actually helping that situation by taking off-street parking and giving it, a business use in the downtown area with its own dedicated parking and dedicated loading zones, that we're removing that congestion off of North Main Street. And some of the turning movements, we're actually on the good side of the street. So when you're pulling out of like Summer Street, looking to the left, and you have all these cars parked there, we don't have that condition on our site. So the sight lines are very suitable for safe, entry and exit from the site.
So Tashina and Ethan both have.
Okay, Tashina?
I just wanted to say, I understand your GS's definition of a drive-through, and while gas stations no longer qualify as a drive-through, I just want to point out that when this bylaw was made, they were drive-throughs when this bylaw was made. There was very little to no self-service gas stations at this time when the bylaws were made. And the point of the bylaws that I think are most important was, the other ones that Ethan had made. I don't want to debate about whether a gas station is a drive-through anymore. My other concern is a few board members seem to already be in favor of this without hearing the town and without hearing both sides of the argument. This is a hearing, and the board should be neutral at this time until they make a decision. It's unfair to have a hearing with the board's mind already made up. I have a few questions too before we run out of time. How much income is this business actually going to generate from our town? Is this business going to be selling alcohol? And will this hurt the other two small convenience stores that are already located in town? Because the last thing I want is to trade 3 small businesses for one big giant corporation looking business. I'm disappointed there hasn't been a traffic study done. I'll just echo that. The gas company not being decided yet also is a huge concerning factor, because there's definitely a big difference in between what gas company they use. There's a lot of gas companies who I don't trust, and there's some who I don't really trust, but I'd be willing to work with in our town. How long are the tanks going to stay in the ground? Who's going to remove them? Who's going to benefit from this in the long run? Does the town actually make money? And Byram has already been there for 100 years, so comparing a new business being put in compared to one who's been there for 100, 200 years, I mean, if someone wanted to come into our town where there wasn't that big of a building already smack dab in the center of our town, we would say no. but it's already there, and so our town has developed around it, and that's okay because we can't really do anything about it. They're already there, and they've worked with us in making sure that it's become a part of our town. We're talking about adding something, not taking stuff away, so please don't compare them. They're very different.
Okay, thank you. Evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the traffic point. I think that no one is against traffic. I think that the problem is how this traffic operates and navigates. And 2 entrance and exits from one business on the busiest part of the street is different than just having cars drive down the street and park in front of a business that they're frequenting, whether it's a parking space on the street or a dedicated parking lot off street. And secondly, I touched on this earlier, I just want to reiterate, I think that this type of business and this in this location will be detrimental to the other businesses, as Tashina had mentioned, that are in the vicinity. I know that there are a number of property owners on the other side of the street and down like where the Walker Block is, who I think their tenants, their residents are not going to be super happy about looking out at a gas station every day. It could negatively impact foot traffic to their businesses. It could negatively impact the likelihood that new businesses will want to enter town and set up shop when they consider the traffic, coming through town to be transient or drive-by, as the engineer has said. That's not really what we want. We don't want drive-by. We want people to stop and visit and frequent and spend money in town. And to bring businesses to town is the ultimate goal. And while this is a new business and that's a plus, I think it would be short-sighted to not look at the impact that this one business would have on infinite number of businesses. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? It's getting to be 9:45.
Can we move the meeting?
8:45. 8:45, excuse me. Yes. Anybody else? All right, I guess yes.
This is Eva Brown. Eva Brown, can you hear me? I can't, yeah. I don't know if I... Okay, I just want to tell you that I've been working with the state from a grant that was actually Dale had written in September, and it was called, it's with real estate development from Mass Development. And we got the opportunity to have what we call a TAP, a Technical Assistance Panel, which I told Bill about. But that panel is going to allow experts from ULI, it's an urban development group, to come to North Brookfield to take a look at our downtown. And these people will be here within, I would say, 2 months. And I feel like if we had someone who was an expert, and we've been given this by the state, that I think that that's an amazing thing, and that we should take a look at what they're willing to give us. Because beside that TAP, there are also a new community one-stop growth that's being offered by the entire state. And they're putting together all of these funding opportunities. When we start putting together piece by piece the different things we want in town, and we don't take a look at it as a unified whole, I don't think that the state is going to be looking at that favorably in terms of giving us funding. So I guess I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I appreciate the fact that, we want a garage in town, a gas station, but I would like to see and hear from these experts who would be able to come into town to help us with the development of our downtown area. So I guess that's where I'd like to see us hold off until we had some expert advice before we make decisions that we're going to regret. Because these people will come in to help us, to listen to us and what we need and what we want, but they will also be able to tell us in a nonpartisan way, they're not part of our town, what really works and what doesn't from their experience throughout the entire state. So I just had to, put that in front of you, that I just like to wade off in making decisions quickly and just find that this is not to our benefit. It's to our detriment, because they look at our main street and they say, well, you've got this here and you've got that there. How do you see this working together? Is it creating a vibrant downtown? Is it walkable? Is it livable? Is this garage going to be good or is it going to be bad? I can't make that decision, but I'd certainly like to hear from the experts.
Okay, very good, thank you. And I would make two comments that I have to make, and one is, the board will have a discussion on whether we continue this hearing to another date, and we need to make that decision. And then the second decision, and this is regarding Eva's last comment, and that is, as of tonight of the hearing, we have 90 days as the planning board to render our decision. And so if you were having an expert panel within 2 months, Eva, I'm afraid that's not going to meet our timetable, and it won't meet the Mass General Law's requirement. So I would recommend that if we do continue this hearing, that you get those experts in town within 30 days so we can have this discussion.
Well, perhaps they could. This isn't my panel, by the way. This was something that the state is giving us because we wrote a grant. It has nothing to do with me particularly. But I also see that sometimes we make very hasty decisions where we have an opportunity that just came to us in October of last year, and we're working on it right now. The application is in, and I'll be talking to the Vice President of Real Estate Services on Monday. And we'll see what she can say about this, and perhaps they can send someone in.
Very good.
I can't say no to that, but I would give it a try.
Yes.
So that we could have some good advice.
Well, let's keep in contact.
Okay.
I just have one thing that I want to say while I'm thinking about it. Tashina, I think that you need to know that we don't make decisions ahead of time and then, sit back and say, well, we don't care what everyone says in town. We're just going to do it whatever we want to do. We don't operate that way. This board has never operated that way since I've been on it. We always listen to what everyone has to say, and we look at the whole situation as a whole, and then we decide after all of that and do a vote. So, I didn't appreciate that. This is one of the best boards I've ever been on, and believe me, I've been on many. And this is a great group of people that listen to everyone. They have open minds, and we argue back and forth just like everybody else does. But in the end, don't think that everyone's minds are made up. That's just not the way it operates. Okay.
Okay, I apologize, thanks, but I just didn't like how that people were being defensive over certain points that other residents were bringing up.
I don't think it's defensive. I think it's just seeing the other side of any particular issue, which if you're going to be open-minded, you have to see both sides. And I think a lot of people are very passionate and fervent and only thinking of one side. So in a public discussion, both sides should be heard. And if it's overwhelmingly in one direction, then people should probably bring up the other side. And we have somebody on the floor, the proposed business owner.
How you doing? My name is Chris Algu, and I don't know if you can see me. Maybe
would you ask him to speak up?
My name is Chris Algu. I am a co-owner of the business CCS Realty. And I just kind of wanted to give you a little background of my family and I. We've actually been in town for quite a while. We used to own the old package store across the street called Algu's Package. I grew up there. My mother ran the store with my father. I've been working with my parents for years now. I'm 36, but I've been working for a very long time, since I was about 15, 16 years old. And we come from a small business aspect, and when my dad brought this proposal to me to bring a gas station to North Brookfield, I was very hesitant because honestly, the traffic flow here is not that much. So for us to invest that kind of money, it took a lot of thought. Now, at the same time, Cumberland Farms was leaving the town, and we had to make a decision of what we were gonna do with that business. Because as you know, Jim's Pizza moved over, and we have to their own building, and we have that building across the street. And we have found it very difficult over, I don't know, 12 years, we haven't found a tenant for that building. Okay, so when Cumberland Farms was gonna leave, we decided that we're gonna take a look and see what we can do for the town. We have other gas stations and convenience stores. In fact, we've been in the business for over 14 years. My mom had a liquor store right across the street, I'll Goose Package, so we have a business experience. And when Cumbies left and we started cleaning everything out, we could hear the pleas from the people pulling in, car after car, person after person, please don't close this convenience store. Please don't close this convenience store. So I said to my dad, I said, you know, I don't think it's right for us to do this. Maybe we should reopen a C-store here. So when we decided that yes, we're gonna open this C-store, we're gonna put some investment, we put in new floors, we put in all of this investment to have the C-store operational. Now that C-store is only 600 square feet or so. I mean, there's only so much people that can fit in there, as you know, COVID has shown. There's only so much items we can sell, and business is getting harder and harder. So what we are doing is moving the convenience store from across the street to a bigger venue so that you guys can have a better service. We can carry more items, we can have a better following, we can have more people stop in the town and shop the shops. I don't know what shops are left because the coffee shop is gone, the subway is not looking very busy, and I'm not quite sure. So we're trying to bring business back here, bring traffic back here, and try to help the town, not just ourselves, because we have businesses other places. And we took a lot of thought into this plan. When the plan first initially came to me, we tried to make it a colonial so it would fit into the town, and we tried to put nice, expensive, finishes so it would look really nice and classy. And I know some of you may disagree. I don't know, not everybody's gonna like the same plans or the same colors, but our objective here is to help this town, to revitalize the town. And obviously, we're a business, we wanna make a profit. That's obvious. So, I hope that you guys understand that we're not a big corporate, just because it says Gulf on the canopy, doesn't make us a big corporation. We are a small business that my dad started a construction company that grew, and we run a family-run business, meaning my mother, my father, my two sisters, and myself. So we're here, we've been here for a number of years, 20 years, and we've seen the danger of the traffic. I've reversed many times out of that suicide parking, and there's a reason why they call it suicide parking. So taking this business, putting it across the street, increasing the number of parking area in there, making all of our delivery trucks a designated area off the road, these are all positive things for your town. So that is all I have to say, and I thank you for your criticisms, and I hope that helped clarify things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? If not, I think the 5 members of our planning board need to discuss whether we have received all the information that's necessary, or should we continue this hearing to a certain time yet to be determined, and sometime in March.
I would make a motion to end the hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Anything from John or Sue?
I don't know, I think we should continue on into March, just to put everyone's mind at ease that we're not rushing through, all of this. I mean, I feel like people think that we're rushing through this when we're really not. And maybe it would be best to just continue on for a little while.
Usually the main reason that I understand for a continuance is that we have yet to receive information. Like, for example, our peer review engineer, Jeff Howland, is on this call. So we have yet to have his input. And then, I don't know if there's
That's important.
Yes, that's important. So if we did vote to close this hearing, any certificate of decision that came later would be dependent on having his input for sure. But are there any other studies that people think that have been overlooked, that haven't been given enough depth?
Bill, I'd like to say that we did not talk about the plans for the inside of the building tonight at all. So I'm not sure we covered everything that we need to talk about yet.
And I also didn't have my question answered about how it'll affect the economy of North Brookfield. Will it hurt the other small businesses in town? And how much income will actually generate for town versus how much money we'll have to invest in changing, if traffic becomes an issue because we don't know, will we have to invest money in changing the roads and stuff versus how much income we'll actually get from the business. I appreciate that, they've been here for so long and they heard the cries of the townspeople for a gas station, but I think people say they want a gas station more than we actually really need one. We haven't had one in 10 years and honestly we've been surviving. So I would like a gas station, but I don't want it to be rushed and I don't want it to be, and I'm Mi'kmaq, and when we make a decision, we make a decision for generations, seven generations after us. And 7 generations after us, are they going to look at us and be like, what were they thinking putting this here? Or are they going to be like, oh wow, that really saves the town? I think those are things that we have to ask ourselves.
Okay, anybody else?
Hi, my name is Nader Jafari. I own Adam Block and also across the street, the old Mom building. Again, I apologize because I couldn't get in for the first 15-20 minutes, so I didn't catch the beginning. So if by any chance this could be continued, it would be helpful. My 2 cents.
Okay, I guess in consideration of these remarks, I'm of the mind of a continuance, so I guess we know where 4 of us stand. So if we were to take a vote, I guess it'll be a surprise to many of us. But we would, if it was to be continued, we'd have to do it. And Eva, another reason that I would like to continue it is that I'd like to get that so-called TAP person in here to give us comments within 2 to 3 weeks if possible. Because, as I said, we're under a 90-day time frame here, and I'm not going to wait for the 90th day to have our board come to a conclusion. So if everybody works together, I'm hopeful. We can't do it on March 17th because we already have a full agenda at our next meeting, so we either have to do it on the 10th of March perhaps if we're sticking to Wednesday, or else we'd have to do it on the 24th of March for our continuing hearing.
I'm good for the 10th.
I have to get back to you.
I'm good for the 10th.
What's that?
John is good for the 10th, and so is...
Sue and John are good for the 10th, but we might not get the expert in from the state by the 10th, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that the 24th would be better if we're trying to get somebody in to take a look. We'll see on Monday, but there's so many things going on for them too, I'm sure. So we'll see. The only thing they can do is ask. But the 24th would give us a little more time.
All right.
Bill, can we do the 24th?
Well,
I don't know.
I guess I've got the cart ahead of the horse here in a minute, so we're going to have to take our vote. And depending on the outcome of that vote, then we'll talk about dates.
Okay.
All right, so does the board want any further discussion to continue the hearing? And that has been the motion to close the hearing. Is that effect?
No.
Okay, so the vote is to close the hearing. So those in favor of closing, raise your hand.
I didn't hear you.
So we have 3 people in favor of closing, and we have 2 in favor of continuing.
No,
Okay.
I'm continuing, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear you.
Okay. So, the vote is 3-2, the hearing is closed. Okay.
What does that mean?
So did everybody understand that?
No.
The planning board has voted 3-2 to close the hearing for the gas station convenience store proposal. No further information is going to be gathered by this board before a decision is made.